Welcome. You've got dads.
Okay, so welcome back. The last episode we went on a date. We went on our first date with Matt, and now we're going to round off the first dates by doing our first date with the last dad, which is Damien. And to explain the pun title of this episode, the Ides of Bloodmarch, I think most people get it. But of course, it's based on the Ides of March, which is a notoriously celebrated historical holiday in which is commonplace to associate the death of Julius Caesar. So, getting on, I can see right away that Damien's dad book profile is extremely formal. So, I mean, look at this huge blurb. Most of the dads don't have a blurb this large. I mean, Robert's is barely, I think, a sentence. He starts out with, a very formal opener. We can tell he's not really a technology person. I mean, I know he is, but he's not really a social media person, I guess you could say. It's funny how he says he's not entirely sure how this works, but I know something about him, which comes up later. So, okay. I mean, if he says so. This might be the fact that Damien does try to project this Victorian image. That he's just kind of pushing this out a bit more than a normal person would. Long strolls through graveyards. Not my cup of tea, but graveyards don't scare me. I mean, some of them are okay. Especially like really old ones, they tend to be pretty cool. And spending time with his son. I'm trying to think about that. Yeah, I guess all of the dads actually have actually mention, something about their kids. Like Joseph, I know he mentions he likes spending time with his kids. Craig does. Brian does. Matt does. I don't remember if Hugo did. I mean, Hugo mentioned that he's apologizing for Ernest's deviant behavior, but anyway, which I think that's sweet. I mean, the internet can be a very niche place. He could easily find somebody also interested in Victorian fashion, or fatalism, or superstitions. So anyway, he likes to listen to true crime podcasts, and he's into taxidermy, which not my cup of tea. I can't say I'm necessarily going to judge him, but it's not a hobby that I find settling, comfortable, I guess you could say. He would take a coffin, so he's accepting he's going to die, unlike the other dads who are like, oh yeah, I would take this for pleasure, or I would take this for survival. And he's just like, yeah, a coffin, I'm going to die here. Oh. It's making me second guess myself. Do I pronounce this word correctly? Is it bosom? Because that's how I hear it, and that's how I usually say it, bosom. Is it bosom? I have no honest idea. It's not a word I use enough, nor do people I know use it. Very common. So, who knows? I mean, we'll ask Damien if we could. That's very imaginative. Foreign art house horror. Now, what exactly is foreign art house horror? Is it like this horror movie that a friend of mine in Japanese class showed me a scene of where there's like a dildo, a drill dildo that he's attacking somebody with? Is that foreign art house horror? I'm not a big fan of horror films myself. I find them to be just underwhelming. Like, the plots are terrible. If it's a thriller, thrillers are just about the action and the blood and the guts and the gore. That's not that exciting to me. I don't mind older horror films, though, like Sunset Boulevard isn't necessarily horror, but it has elements of it in it. Vertigo is like more of a psychologically based horror. So his ideal date is the Berlin club scene, apparently. That's not honestly something I would expect from Damien. It's like the anti-Joseph right here. Mortality salience. I know what salience is, I know what mortality is, but these two words combined, I'm not entirely sure. So let's just continue and go on our date. This doesn't seem like a dad tip I would expect. I should say that at this point, Damien is the dad that we know the least about. We've had the least amount of contact with him. The only time we actually got to speak to him, and it was very briefly, was at the cookout. Funny thing is, it shouldn't take that long to type this, so it makes me think, is he a slow typer? I wouldn't say that our first meeting painted him negatively, it didn't really paint him at all. I'm a little frustrated with this, because once again they're making the dad Sona look like a complete idiot. What Damien said, there's nothing to honestly be confused about. It's rather straightforward for Damien, who is wordy and long-winded. It's not net speak, it's not, you know, like LOL, OMG, it's not any lingo or anything. So, really?
Hmm?
I remember reading Pride and Prejudice back in the 8th grade, and I pretty much remember nothing from the book, because it was boring to me. But then again, 8th grade, I didn't have a good literary sense. It wasn't what I would consider necessarily literarily mature. So, I don't know, maybe I should reread it sometime.
Eh? Yeah. Alright.
Damien's house is probably the fanciest house out of all of the houses in the cul-de-sac. Well, other than Joseph's, I guess. Speaking of, that's something that I kind of wish the developers did when they made this game, is let it be where we can see, I mean, we don't have to go in, just visually see all of the dad's houses, like when we drop them off from a date or we pick them up from a date. Like, we never get to see Matt's house. We get to see the inside, but I'm talking about the exterior. We never get to see Hugo's house, from what I remember. We get to see... we never get to see Robert's either. We get to see our own house. We get to see Damien's house. We get to see Joseph's house. And And that's it. We don't get to see Matt's, Brian's, Hugo's, Craig's, or Robert's. And I think that that would be another facet of personality that wouldn't take a lot of effort to add into the game. Like, you can tell a lot from a person's house what taste they like, what their personality might be. So seeing Damien's, we can already tell a lot of stuff just from this. Seeing Joseph's, we can also tell a lot from that. So if we could see the other dad's houses, it would kind of provide more insight. Okay, now it looks like he's collecting fossils. I never noticed that before. I like the tea tray in the middle, though. We're not making a good first impression so far. Somehow I imagine Damien does everything with a flourish. It is a nice room, though. Like, I love a good library. I love the fact that his library is tiered. Like, it is 2 stories. That is amazing. Although what these chairs are doing up here, I don't know. This butterfly collection, moth collection, I'm not sure which, looks pretty cool. So yeah, it's a pretty nice and stately room. The butterflies interest me the most, actually, so that's what I'm going to look at first. And once again, Damien is just like Craig, and I forget who the other dad was, but certain dads have conversation options where every single one of the conversation options, except for leaving the conversation, will net you free relationship points. So, like, selecting any of these and the bug one from before, all of those net me good points with Damien. So now we're going to go look at the books. Oh my god. Damien, you just lost points. Like, it's one thing to be a weeaboo, but it's to be a Naruto weeaboo? Really? And not even a Naruto weeaboo, but a Naruto smut weeaboo? Damien. Damien, really? Get your life together. Oh my god.
What?
I think the more shocking thing is he doesn't try to deny it. He's like, oh yeah, that's one of my books. It's just a rarer book. As if you know, he's implying that it's one he doesn't read that often. But if I was in that position, I would be like, that's not my book. That's Lucian's book. That's not my book. That's a book maybe Lucian borrowed from a friend at school. I would not admit to owning that. Let's look out the window. Hey, Craig.
Huh.
It's not that good of a joke, though, Damien. It really isn't. See, now, Damien being a highbrow kind of person, I wonder what kind of tea he's serving. Like, because I love tea. I'm not a coffee person at all. I love tea. I love green tea, white tea, but my favorite teas are Darjeeling or Assam. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of tea is he serving? Is he just like serving a regular orange pico? Is it an Earl Grey? You know, what is he serving? See, but this kind of attitude where you have to correct everybody for every little thing, like, I get being impassioned, but this is over the top. And if I was personally in this situation, that would annoy me with Damien. That would actually lower him in my mind, because I'd be like, you can't let anything go. I mean, it's one thing to be a perfectionist, right? Because I'm a perfectionist. But I would start to think, like, you're a little too uptight for me. Because then it would make me more hesitant to even engage in conversation, because, you know, what if I say something factually incorrect again? Like, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you do that. It's like, he needs to tone it down just a tad. But his home is really impressive.
Huh.
I don't see why not. He actually has a really nice home. Even if they just see the exterior, it's rather nice. I don't get this reference. I do want to actually, I'm going to be a little bit of a bitch here. And I'm going to be uptight toward Damien's character right back. He loves Victorian things, right? But he self-describes himself as a goth. Goth and Victorian, as far as I know, are not the same thing. The Gothic era, you know, Gothic architecture, Gothic Renaissance sort of things, that's not the same as Victorian, as far as I know. So it's like, do you really deserve to be as uptight as you are, Damien? I'm on to you. I agree. I definitely agree with that. See, this is something I agree with, because I've seen this arise lately on social media, that certain people will, like, they'll see a photograph of something from the 60s, you know, like a poodle skirt or something, and they'll be like, oh, this, I mean, not the 60s, the 50s, and they'll be like, oh, the 50s, that was, you know, that was such an interesting era, and then somebody will come up and then they'll be completely snarky and snide and be like, oh yeah, the racism was great. And it's like, this is kind of the attitude I take is Damien's attitude. It's like, we can acknowledge that there were terrible things about an era, and that to live a life that aligns with that era and, you know, the mindset of that era would not be a good thing. But we can still admire some of the other things of an era, I think, because there are unique things about every single era. So to just acknowledge the negative, it's completely, you know, just erasing the history of everything that existed for that era.
Oh.
Exactly, thank you.
Huh.
I have to agree. Watching someone get impassioned about anything they love, even if it's not what I'm necessarily interested in, is such a nice thing. It is such a turn on.
Oh.
I don't want to have to sound sophisticated though. Like, if he's willing to accept people for their passions, then I should just be honest. I've never learned how to juggle. I have no coordination for that. Soap making, I think, would be interesting. Like, I like going to Lush, and I like seeing the various soaps they're able to create. We're gonna go with some word jumbles, because one, it's honest, and two, I do love a good word puzzle.
Oh.
That is a really pretty garden. I think that's really cool, though. The fact that it doesn't matter who you were, guy or girl, you could receive a bouquet and it would be seen as normal. And then also the fact that so much thought went into it. I think that's really cool. Well, this is just like language, actually. You know, one word in a sentence means one thing on its own, but when it's paired in the context with other words and the word order and how it's inflected and whatever else, the entire semantics of the word changes. Or it becomes a lot more nuanced. It doesn't necessarily change completely. I love tiger lilies. I mean, I'm guessing this is a tiger lily. I don't know if there's a difference between an orange lily and a tiger lily. I mean, something orange does seem like it would be racy and sensual. It could be enthusiasm, though. Or it could be like, not quite the red of anger, but reaching into that realm. So it's kind of hard to say. I don't know if Damien would appreciate this answer, though. I'm going to say this one. Well, we were a little bit close. I don't appreciate that we only have 3 options, because my favorite flower is not on here, which is a red hibiscus, or a lavender rose. Both of those are my favorites. But Where I grew up, there's tons of honeysuckle, so it's a very nostalgic flower for me. And I love the smell of it. I love the taste of it. That's true. The nectar actually tastes really good. And for the record, though, if you pick any of those flowers, he will have a good reaction to it. Thing is, he never actually does put together a bouquet for you, and I wish he did, because that would be just so sweet. I actually know somebody with a rotary phone. They don't even have a cell phone, they use a rotary phone. This is my most hated minigame because it's the cheapest minigame. It is so easy. There we go. Because I mean, there's only 3 pieces. It's not really a challenge. You do not need a whole minute to do it. I feel like they should have definitely overcomplicated. Like, make it, I don't know, 6 or 7 pieces. Make, you know, make it just an actual challenge.
Ah! Huh.
Oh, it's Hugo. Handsome, handsome Hugo.
Eh.
I wonder what their level of friendship is, though. And once again, you can just see how tall Hugo is compared to some of the other dads.
Huh.
Oh.
I don't know if I've ever been to a school which had a basement, though.
Huh.
What did he think would happen, though? Like, what did he think would happen?
Huh.
Did you try to cask of Amontillado, Ernest? Another moment where the dad Sona is just naive or ignorant. Cask of Amontillado or Amontillado, that's a really famous story. I'm surprised he doesn't know about it. Like, I remember having to read it in school at least 2 or 3 times.
Huh. Oh.
I agree, it is a lovely story. It's a really good story. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, what exactly was the thought process? What did you think was going to happen? I love Hugo's reaction. It's like, really? It took you 20 minutes to figure this out? Like, 1 or 2 minutes, sure. That's understandable. But 20?
Whoa! Sweet Manchego!
That is, you know, that is a fair point, though.
Oh, no.
That's a really supportive answer.
Huh. Uh-huh.
They seem to have a mutually respectful relationship, though. I mean, even if Lucien does the typical teenager thing and, you know, balks at how uncool or weird his dad is, he still seems to respect him quite a lot.
Oh.
I honestly do admire how he handled that, though. He's a lot more diplomatic with Lucien than I think any parent would be. Like, I would probably be grounded for months if I ever tried something like that. I'd probably be checked into some psychiatric hospital. You know, my parents would not let up. I wish a lot more people realized that as parents, though. Or just people in general. Yelling at people doesn't really do anybody any favors. It just creates an antagonistic environment.
Oh.
Eh? Yeah. Ah.
How did she know that? Oh, okay.
I'm sensing a romance between us. A chemical romance.
Oh my god.
That's a band?
I've actually never listened to My Chemical Romance, so I can't judge it too harshly. But for some reason, Damien's scenarios seem to evoke a lot of My Chemical Romance references. So I never get the reference, and I'm just like, what am I missing out on?
Welcome. You've got dads.
All right, well, that ends our last first date with the dads. So next episode, we'll be starting our second dates with the dads. I don't know who I'm going to choose, so I might just enter everybody into a randomized generator and go from there. It's kind of going to be a free-for-all. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.